if your energy is crashing, if intimacy feels like a chore, if you've started to wonder, is this just age? It's not. It could be a silent deficiency your doctor never mentioned. I've sat across from thousands of men over the last 3 decades. Strong men, providers, men who spent their entire lives building something, businesses, families, legacies, and yet I keep hearing the same quiet confession. Doc, I just don't feel like myself anymore. The spark's gone. The strength is fading. Sleep doesn't restore like it used to. Intimacy feels distant, not because the desire's gone, but because the body just won't cooperate. And here's the truth. It's not just getting older. For many men over 60, the issue is something much more manageable, something fixable. Your body runs on very specific fuel, and after 60, that fuel tank gets low, especially when it comes to 3 vitamins that directly affect blood flow, testosterone, energy, and stamina. The drop is so subtle, most men don't notice until the symptoms feel permanent, but they're not. What's shocking is that these deficiencies are wildly common and wildly ignored. Not because doctors don't care, but because the typical yearly checkup barely scratches the surface. I've seen men go from half asleep and hopeless to alert, motivated, and deeply connected to their partners, just by correcting this imbalance. Today, I'll show you the exact 3 vitamins I prescribe most to men over 60, and how, when combined correctly, they work like flipping on a forgotten power switch inside you. The first, vitamin D, the circulation spark plug. Let me take you back to one particular patient, Paul, a 67-year-old former engineer. He was sharp as a tack, the kind of guy who used to troubleshoot industrial machines with mathematical precision. But lately, the system that mattered most, his own body, was failing him in ways that formulas couldn't fix. I remember him sitting in my office, visibly frustrated. "Doc," he said, "my mind's still firing on all cylinders. My love for my wife hasn't changed, but my body, it's like it's shutting the door on us." Now, Paul wasn't battling depression. He wasn't on a dozen medications. He exercised occasionally, ate decently, and hadn't had any major health scares. But something was off. Something subtle yet powerful enough to chip away at his confidence. And when we ran a few tests, the answer practically screamed from the report. Paul had a serious vitamin D deficiency. You've probably heard of it before, vitamin D. Often called the sunshine vitamin, it sounds almost too simple, right? Just get a little sun and you're good to go. But let me tell you something most people, especially men over 60, don't realize. Vitamin D is far more than just a wellness buzzword. It's not just about bone strength or immune support. For aging men, it acts more like a circulatory spark plug, igniting processes that your body desperately needs to keep running at full capacity. One of its most powerful roles is this. Vitamin D helps your body produce nitric oxide, a tiny molecule with a massive job. Nitric oxide tells your blood vessels, hey, time to relax and open up. And when that happens, blood flows freely and efficiently throughout your body. That includes your heart, your brain, and yes, down there too. We're talking about the kind of blood flow that supports not only your energy and alertness, but also your intimacy and performance. Without enough vitamin D, that system starts to choke. Your vessels stay constricted. Your circulation slows. Blood doesn't reach the places it used to as easily. And before you know it, you're dealing with issues like low energy, brain fog, weak erections, and even a creeping sense of fatigue you can't explain. It's subtle at first, a little less morning drive, a little more time needed to get in the mood, but it builds over time, and that's where so many men go wrong. They think it's just aging. But in reality, their body is simply missing a key piece of the puzzle. Vitamin D is that piece. Not glamorous, not trendy, but absolutely essential. Without it, everything slows down. Blood doesn't move efficiently. Erections become weaker and less predictable. Energy levels drop. Even inflammation begins creeping up in the background, contributing to everything from joint pain to heart disease. The problem? Over 40% of adults over 60 are deficient in vitamin D, and many don't even know it. The symptoms are sneaky: poor sleep, low energy, dwindling libido, foggy thinking, Most people write them off as normal aging, but in many cases, it's just a simple deficiency that no one's addressing. Here's the good news. You don't need to move to a tropical island to fix this. Paul started small. Every morning, he took a 20-minute walk outside while the sun was still gentle. He also added a high-quality vitamin D3 supplement to his breakfast, just 2,000 IU. Nothing fancy, and within a matter of weeks, things changed. His complexion improved. He started cracking more jokes in our sessions. But more importantly, his energy came back, and so did the closeness in his marriage. He described it as a new connection with his wife I thought was gone forever. If you're avoiding intimacy, not because the desire's gone, but because your body simply isn't keeping up, that could be a red flag. Not for a major disease, but for something incredibly simple and easily fixable. Vitamin D may not sound sexy, but let me be clear, it's essential. And in many cases, restoring your levels is like flipping the breaker back on. Everything starts working better, blood flows stronger, muscles respond faster, sleep becomes deeper. And yes, relationships, especially the physical ones, get a second chance. Don't ignore the signs. If your body's been whispering or even shouting that something's missing, it might just be the sunlight you're not getting or the supplement you're not taking. Check your levels. Rebuild from there. Vitamin B12, the energy generator. There was this one patient, Robert, 72 years old, retired firefighter, and built like a rock. You know the type. Stoic, disciplined, the kind of guy who ran into burning buildings without a second thought. Even in retirement, he was no slouch. He still woke up at dawn, took long walks, ate clean, and even volunteered at the local firehouse from time to time. But the day he walked into my office, he looked worn down. There was a heaviness in his posture, a weariness in his voice. "Doc," he said, "I sleep fine. I eat right. I stay active. So why do I feel like I'm running on fumes?" We ran some blood work, and there it was, low vitamin B12. Not just low normal, low, and that's when it clicked. Vitamin B12 is one of those unsung heroes. It doesn't get the headlines that vitamin D or testosterone do, but it's absolutely essential. It's the spark plug for your metabolism, the bridge between the fuel you eat and the energy your cells can use. Without it, your body is like a luxury car with no gas in the tank. You could eat a perfectly balanced diet, steak, greens, eggs, all of it, but if your system can't extract the B12 from those foods, it won't make a difference. As men age, especially after 60, the stomach naturally produces less hydrochloric acid. That acid is key to absorbing B12 from food. So even if you're eating clean, your body might be starving for it. With Robert, we skipped the generic stuff and put him on methylcobalamin, the active form of B12 that your body can actually use immediately. No conversion needed. Within a week, his fog started lifting. His wife told me she noticed it first. He started finishing sentences again, cracking jokes, even remembering the little things. Within 3 weeks, he was hiking up trails he hadn't touched in years. What really struck me was when she looked at me, eyes a little watery, and said, "He's present again, like his spark's back." That hit me deeper than any lab result ever could, because in that moment I realized this wasn't just about energy levels or vitamin counts on a chart. It wasn't about B12 or testosterone or circulation in isolation. It was about something far more meaningful: presence. You see, when a man starts slipping into deficiency, whether it's subtle or severe, he doesn't just lose physical stamina. He starts to lose the emotional glue that connects him to the people he loves. He becomes quieter, more withdrawn. The light in his eyes dims a little, conversations grow shorter, laughter fades, and for the people around him, especially a spouse or partner, it can feel like watching someone you love slowly disappear in plain sight. That's what she meant when she said his spark was back. She wasn't talking about just his libido or his physical health. She meant he was engaged again, curious, involved, emotionally responsive. He noticed things, he asked questions, he shared stories, he showed up again. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't just a victory for his health, it was a restoration of his identity, of the man he used to be. And let me tell you something, I've seen that transformation more times than I can count. When we restore the right nutrients in the right way, it's not just about fixing what's broken, it's about returning the man to himself, giving him his edge, his fire, his connection to life, and to the people who miss him when he starts to fade. Most men don't realize how deeply B12 affects their day-to-day energy, clarity, and even bedroom performance. It fuels the red blood cells that carry oxygen to your muscles and brain. Without it, your system enters a kind of low-power mode, tired limbs, foggy thoughts, grumpy moods, sluggish libido. But here's the part I love. It's one of the easiest fixes I've seen in medicine. A simple daily sublingual supplement, or in some cases a B12 shot, and within 2 to 3 weeks, you're looking at a whole new man. I've seen guys come in slouched over and walk out standing taller. And they're not doing anything drastic. They're just giving their bodies what they've been missing for years. So if you're over 60 and you've been feeling exhausted for no clear reason, get your B12 checked. It might just be the missing link. Vitamin E, the hormone and heart protector. Then there's James, 70 years old, retired pilot, and a guy who looked like he could still land a plane in a storm. He stayed active, ate clean, and took his vitamins. From the outside, you'd think he had it all figured out. But one afternoon, he sat across from me, shoulders slightly hunched, voice quiet, a trace of something heavier in his tone. "I'm doing everything right, Doc," he said, "so why do I feel like I'm slipping? I don't feel like a man anymore." Now those words are different coming from someone like James. This was a man who had commanded jetliners, managed emergencies at 30,000 feet, and mentored younger pilots with quiet authority. Here he was, struggling to feel like himself, like the confident, grounded man he used to be. So I asked him one simple question: "What kind of vitamin E are you taking?" He blinked, shrugged, and said, "Just the cheap stuff from the grocery store." And that's when it clicked. Right there, we found the gap. Because here's the truth, vitamin E isn't just for skin health. It's not some fluff supplement you take for smoother elbows or wrinkle prevention. For men over 60, it's a lifeline. It does 3 things exceptionally well: protects your blood vessels, reduces silent inflammation, and supports testosterone production, the very hormone that powers your vitality, confidence, and sexual drive. When you don't have enough high-quality vitamin E, oxidative stress creeps in. That's the damage caused by free radicals, unstable molecules that chip away at your cells day after day. Over time, they wear down your circulation, disrupt hormone production, and weaken the tissues involved in intimacy and stamina. Erections don't just vanish overnight. They erode slowly, silently, with every unaddressed hit of inflammation. But here's the thing. Not all vitamin E is created equal. The synthetic stuff, often listed as DL-alpha tocopherol on cheap supplement bottles, isn't even close to what your body really needs. What you want is the natural full-spectrum form, the one that includes all 8 members of the vitamin E family, especially the tocopherols and tocotrienols. You'll find these in foods like raw almonds, sunflower seeds, avocados, spinach, and in well-sourced supplements. So we made the switch. James started small, just a handful of mixed raw nuts a day, a drizzle of olive oil on his lunch salad, and a once-daily full-spectrum vitamin E supplement. Now that was it. No overhauls, no hormone therapy, just the right tools for the job. And a few weeks later, the change was impossible to ignore. His posture shifted, his mood lightened. He walked differently, shoulders back, a quiet swagger in his step. He smiled more. He even started telling me about his plans to take his wife to Greece, something he hadn't felt energized enough to plan in years. At his follow-up, he said something I'll never forget. "I feel like I finally stepped back into my own skin." And that, right there, is what this is really about. Not just boosting testosterone or improving circulation, though those things absolutely matter. This is about feeling whole again, feeling connected, not just to your partner, but to yourself, to the man you know you are. Now let me tell you something I've seen time and again. It's not just about taking vitamin D or B12 or E in isolation. The real magic, it happens when you take them together consistently and in the right forms. Take Walter, for instance, a 68-year-old retired high school football coach. He came to me already on vitamin D, trying to combat low energy. It helped a little. We added methylated B12 to improve oxygen delivery and energy metabolism. Then, a few months later, we layered in natural, full-spectrum vitamin E. And that's when the wheels started turning. He came back grinning, leaned against my door frame, and said, "Doc, I feel like I've got a brand new engine." He wasn't exaggerating. His lab showed improved testosterone, his circulation markers were better, and his energy was no longer a daily struggle. It was steady. Here's why it worked. These 3 vitamins form a kind of triangle of vitality. Vitamin D increases nitric oxide and improves blood vessel flexibility. B12 boosts red blood cell production and helps transport oxygen efficiently through your body. And vitamin E, it shields the whole system, protecting your arteries, calming down inflammation, and supercharging testosterone synthesis. Each one supports the others. Alone, they help. But together, they synergize. They remind your body how it used to function, like flipping on the main power breaker and watching every room light up. You don't just move better, you think clearer, breathe deeper, sleep sounder, you feel more grounded in your skin. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Most guys never feel that synergy, not because the vitamins don't work, but because they're taking the wrong kinds in the wrong combinations, in the wrong doses, and with no real guidance. You see it all the time. Cheap multivitamins loaded with synthetic fillers. B12 in the form of cyanocobalamin, which has to be converted by the liver. Vitamin E, that's just one part of the puzzle. Or vitamin D3 taken without fat, which makes it far less absorbable. When men start using bioavailable, high-quality forms, taken consistently with the right timing and the right nutrition, the difference is like night and day. And I don't say that lightly. I've watched men in their 60s and 70s reclaim their clarity, rebuild their strength, and reconnect with their partners, not through gimmicks or hormone shots, but through a smarter, more integrated approach to nutrition. Because when your body remembers what vitality feels like, everything changes. And that's what I want for every man over 60. Not just to exist, but to thrive. Now, I've got to warn you, this is where most men go wrong. They hear about vitamins like D, B12, and E, rush to the drugstore, grab the cheapest bottle, and think they're good. But weeks later, they're back saying, "Doc, nothing's changed." And here's why. Just because the label says vitamin D doesn't mean your body can actually use it. The form, the dose, and the quality all matter. Most low-cost supplements use synthetic forms, like D2 instead of D3, or cyanocobalamin instead of methylcobalamin. Your body barely absorbs them, and even if you have the right kind, taking it inconsistently, once or twice a week, won't do much. Your body needs steady daily support. It's not about trying harder, it's about doing it right and sticking with it. That's when the real changes begin. Let me be crystal clear, not all vitamins are created equal. In fact, the wrong form can do next to nothing. I remember Gerald, 74, thoughtful, took notes during appointments. One day he walked in with a grocery bag full of supplements. He said, "I'm doing everything right. Why do I still feel terrible?" I picked up his B12, cyanocobalamin, cheap, synthetic, poorly absorbed. His D, it was D2, not the much more effective D3. His E, a synthetic alpha-tocopherol missing the full spectrum of what his body actually needed. We switched everything. High-quality, bioavailable forms. Methylcobalamin for B12, D3 with K2, natural mixed tocopherols for E, and we created a schedule. Daily use, no skipping. Within just a month, Gerald was a different man. His eyes were brighter. His focus had sharpened. He told me he was sleeping through the night again without waking up groggy, but the moment that stood out most, he leaned in almost like he was letting me in on a secret and said, "Doc, I finally feel like a man again." That one line spoke volumes, because it wasn't just about physical strength or libido, it was about wholeness, mental clarity, emotional connection, and the quiet confidence that had slowly drifted away over the years. And to get there, Gerald didn't need a miracle. He just needed the right kind of support. So here's the fix, and it's not complicated. Invest in quality, not quantity. You don't need 40 different pills scattered across your kitchen counter. What you need are targeted bioavailable nutrients, the forms your body actually recognizes and uses. Methylated B12, natural D3 with K2, full-spectrum tocopherols for vitamin E. Take them consistently, with food every day. No skipping, no guessing. And remember, your body isn't a machine. It's a living, breathing system with thousands of moving parts working in harmony. When one part is undernourished, others suffer. But when you give your system what it needs, real fuel in the right form, everything starts to click again. That's when the magic happens. Your sleep improves, your memory sharpens, your stamina returns, your relationships deepen. And slowly, sometimes even unexpectedly, your body starts reminding you that it still has so much to give. Trust me, what you're capable of feeling, doing, and being after 60 might just surprise you. You're not past your prime. You're just missing your spark. Let's bring it back. Most men who sit across from me aren't looking for some 12-step wellness boot camp. They want to know, Doc, what do I actually need to do every day? And honestly, I love that question because when you're over 60, health isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. I think of Frank, one of my favorite patients. He was 66, retired carpenter, tough hands, soft-spoken guy. But he told me he felt like his battery was draining faster every year, so we didn't flip his life upside down. We built a rhythm. Every morning, he started with a glass of water and his methylcobalamin B12 right after a protein-rich breakfast. Just that alone helped his energy stop crashing by noon. Then came a 15-minute walk outside, getting real sunlight when possible, or D3 with breakfast on cloudy days. Almonds or sunflower seeds during lunch covered his vitamin E, and if he didn't feel like snacking, a drizzle of olive oil on his salad did the trick. No giant supplement stacks, no biohacking, just smart, simple moves. And you know what? In 3 weeks, he said something I'll never forget. Doc, I feel like I've got some of my old engine back. That's what happens when your body gets what it's been quietly asking for. Not a magic fix, just biology done right. Your energy starts to hum, your drive returns, your sleep deepens, and you stop feeling like life is something you're dragging through. Instead, you start leading again. And if you're still listening, let me say this from the heart. It's not too late. I've spent over 30 years with men who thought they were out of time. They'd lowered their expectations, told themselves that this constant fatigue, the limp motivation, the distant relationships was just part of getting old. But it's not. It's not your age. It's a signal. Your body doesn't give up. It adapts. And when you start giving it what it needs, vitamin D to open up blood flow, B12 to fuel every cell, vitamin E to protect and restore hormone balance, it remembers. It wakes up. You stop dragging through the day and start walking into it with purpose. I've seen the shift happen again and again. I've seen men reconnect with their wives after years of silence. I've seen them lift more, laugh more, love more. Not because they reversed aging, but because they stopped believing the lie that it was over. The truth is, your body is still listening. You just have to speak its language. Now, if this message spoke to you, if it gave you clarity, hope, or just something to finally try, go ahead and give it a like. Share it with a friend, a brother, someone who's been silently struggling, and drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from. I read every single one. Subscribe if you want more real health advice made for real men. No fluff, no hype, just answers. You've already taken the first step by watching. Let's take the next one together.